here with the chief. Thank you both for coming. Really appreciate that you both came and are on the first season of this show. You go by Chief Hollywood on Instagram.
Yes, I do.
Which I love. So explain that.
Well, I guess I did have a other Instagram, and actually Heather wanted me to be more out there. I guess I didn't really want to put myself out there a whole lot. So she's like, "Well, do you mind if I make you an Instagram?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." So she created one for me, and it's actually called Witchkin Boy.
Okay.
But that's kind of like the first Instagram. And then as time went on, I kind of realized that, it's about being seen in Hollywood and actually having a platform, creating a platform to kind of get your story across to viewers, or, like, how do you want to just be visible in Hollywood? So I kind of contemplated it, but I was like, okay, I need to start my own Instagram. I'm running into a lot of people, and how do I stay in touch with them? So Instagram was kind of the way. So I was like, what's a good handle?
We all have that question.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'll kind of backtrack a little bit here. Heather really loves thrifting. So we were going to a thrift store, and I found this vest, and it was like a big chief on the back.
Okay.
And a leather vest.
Yeah. Like a Harley Davidson kind of
exactly.
vest. Yeah,
exactly like that. So I tried it on, and it just fit me perfect. So I was like, I need to get this, like, I might not wear it now, but it just kind of feels like I need to get it. So I got it, and that's kind of where my name came from, was, okay, see if Chief Hollywood is available.
Yeah.
So I searched it up, and sure enough, it was available, and I kind of went a little more in depth about it. It was like, the representation out in Hollywood is, I don't really know a whole lot of other natives. The only one I know is like Adam Beach, and he's from Canada too.
Okay.
He's out here, but...
Yeah, so a backstory on that too, even further. You're from Canada.
Yes.
You're from what part of Canada?
Treaty 6 territory. I'm from a First Nation called Witchkin Lake.
Okay.
And that's located right in the center of Saskatchewan. I'm Cree. That's my background. My dad is half Soto and half Cree, and my mom is full Cree. So I'm like a quarter Soto, 3/4 Cree. And it's just kind of how it came about. Is I wanted to actually just kind of make myself visible out here.
Yeah.
Like.
And you've always wanted to be involved in filmmaking and Hollywood in general, or did that come later, or what? How did you get to that? Because you're from north of Canada.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's not exactly a quick little line,
Exactly.
You weren't in Century City and you wanted to be,
No, man. That's the last thing I was thinking about growing up. I grew up on like I said, Witchkin Lake First Nation. I grew up in a time when there was no electricity.
Wow.
There was no running water. My dad was a hunter trapper. He's a carpenter. We had our First Nation. We only had 2 phones. Now it's actually about 3 phones we had. One to the band office, one to our house, because my mother was a medical taxi.
Yeah.
So and then there was one other one who was like the chief.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy to think the evolution of just not too long ago.
Yeah.
That was only like 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And to actually be here now, like, there's this so much, just a big gap, but just so much growth. And growing up, Hollywood wasn't really like in my in my dreams or anything.
Wasn't on the
because
radar.
I
Yeah.
didn't see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know, all I seen was hunting, trapping, fishing, riding horses, and that was our thing. That was our fun, was riding horses.
Yeah.
You know, being a group of friends, we would just go out, walk out to the pasture. It would be about 5 miles.
And so to give like people like an idea of what it was like, you know, what's the nearest city?
I'd say the nearest city was like Prince Albert at the time, and that was, now it's like about an hour away. And at that time, it was still kind of a smaller city.
So you're pretty remote. You were pretty out in the,
Yeah, I was isolated. I
not
guess.
quite as far maybe, because Canada can be pretty, like, I mean, you can go really far, but
Yeah.
you were well out in the,
Yeah, I guess there's not really, I don't know, really any reason to kind of leave the community, kind of, you know, because at that age we were, you know, we kind of had what we needed, you know.
Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, we're kind of now that I'm looking back on my life and kind of being educated and knowledgeable about the whole system that was designed to kind of put us on reservations.
Yeah.
You know, and then now being knowledgeable now and actually looking back and seeing exactly that. We were put on reservations to kind of just be off the radar.
yeah.
And now, I guess it takes me to the older I get, I guess that's what brought me out here, you know,
Yeah.
to Hollywood, is to actually try and change that
Be
narrative.
visible
Yeah, exactly.
versus being hidden away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually telling our story through my voice and through my experiences, through my family's experiences, through, you know, it just down the line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of started out fun as just kind of like a fun thing. Oh, make some funny videos, you know, for YouTube with some
Right.
friends.
Right.
But then as the more I kind of seen how powerful visual arts is,
Yeah.
and just, you know, propaganda and, you know, just the power it implies. So I was realizing like this is kind of my way of kind of fighting what I believe is kind of stereotyping me, you
Right.
know, and where I come from and my people. So it's kind of like a not like a burden, but it's something now where I realize that I'm in a position where I can actually do something that I believe will actually be impactful on creating a bridge
Yeah.
with people who don't really know about us as First Nations people. And, you know, it's just, there just has to be a communication, like a bridge,
Right.
where we can communicate with each other. And I believe that like film, music, like arts is like a good bridge
Yeah.
in that direction. So
Yeah. And
Yeah.
something that it's like a universal language. You can
Exactly.
really quickly get to
Exactly.
people
yes,
through, you know, your medium, which is for you is film.
yeah.
So when did you first, you know, like, I feel like every filmmaker has like a first film that made them want to be a filmmaker. Do you have one?
I would say I don't know the exact film. It could have accumulated to a few films,
Yeah.
but it was always with kind of like the westerns or like Dances with Wolves, or,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
there'd be
Yeah.
us natives in there. You know, it'd be like screaming on
You
horses.
weren't
or-
quite sure why they were so white, but you were at the time.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
a little bit, yeah.
You know, and that was it. You
Yeah.
know, like I could see it as a young boy, kind of like, hey, like that's us up there, but why we're not
Sort of. Yeah.
like we're not mean, you know, like
Yeah.
like that. Like
Yeah.
we're not that hostile all the time, and you know, it just I was the one rooting for, you know, like come on, man, just rooting for the Indians, I
Right, they're
guess, you
always
know,
like,
Cowboys
yeah.
and Indians. So, you know, and then later it kind of looking back on the the credits,
Yeah.
and then you're starting
Yeah.
to see all the actors who it was, and then you're not seeing any native
John
names on
Wayne.
there.
It's
You
not,
know,
not very
like
native sounding.
well, even like even up to like Mexicans, they're using like
Right.
Latino or
Right.
Mexican. You have like a Juan, or you know, and they're
Right.
portraying us natives, and it just, you know, that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I kind of, you know, it's like I said, it's just an accumulation of everything kind of coming to a boiling pot to kind of where I am now. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, like how authentic would that be if it was actually natives actually
Right.
playing the native roles?
Right.
You know, and I got asked a question about similar to this in school, and a professor was kind of telling me what movies I should watch if I was interested in Dances with Wolves, which I very am. You know, and he brought up Last of the Mohegans.
Yeah.
And
I remember that when I was a
yeah,
kid.
and I was like, I was like, it didn't sound right because I remember I wanted to watch that show, but then for some reason I didn't. And then it just, you know, in class when he was telling me about it, I was like, okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And then when I went to turn it on, and I was like, oh, that's why
Yeah.
the lead role is not a native.
Yeah.
It's Caucasian.
And it's
you know,
it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's a very like caricatured, like, I mean, it's, at least the movie is
Yeah.
like, it's very like, you know, probably not.
I mean, like even just for him to, like, I brought it out. I was like, "Oh, Professor, remember the reason I told like I didn't want to watch Last of the Mohegans or why I wasn't interested in it?" It's like, yeah, it's like because it didn't have a indigenous lead role,
Yeah.
you know. And then he was like, "Oh, okay." Then he tried to justify it as well. The reason why is because they needed like money, or you know, like to have a star actor in that. But that's kind of the thing is
Yeah.
that's his outlook.
They've
you
made
know?
that they've made that argument for a long time.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that I was reading recently about, I think it was there's a movie that came out. I think it's a Marvel movie, but it had like an all Asian lead.
Oh, okay,
And
Shang-Chi.
I think that's what it
Yeah.
was. And they were saying that that argument was used for that, saying, yeah, well, we need someone to pull the people in, and it was able to do well without really, you know, it kind of broke that mold.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of like, okay, so see, you know, you don't
Nice,
need
yeah.
that, but it took like, you know, that's a long time.
Yeah,
For-
exactly.
For 20, you know, the last time they had done something like that was Crazy Rich Asians. So
Yeah.
before that, there wasn't really anything else. So it's
Yeah.
probably the same argument to me that,
Yeah.
that well, we need a big star. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, well, that doesn't mean that
Yeah, exactly.
you can't make one.
Yeah, for me that's the thing. It's about this this new what do you call it? New material or new I guess it's me, you know, they need me because they haven't really experienced me yet.
Yeah.
So I'll be like fresh content,
Yeah.
you know. And just because they didn't see it doesn't mean that they
Right.
don't want it.
And so you're
You
going
know?
to school now for film.
Yes, I am. I got my last year, and I should have my bachelor degree by December.
Awesome.
You know, so but I don't want to stop there. You know, like I'm gonna continue on and go for my master's.
Yeah.
You know, like I just feel like soaking up as much knowledge as I can to actually properly distribute these stories that I have.
Yeah.
And it's actually history,
Yeah.
you know, and I want to be careful with it and tell it right properly and go through the proper protocols with certain different tribes and tell their stories with the help of them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and it kind of reminds me of like if you were to tell a story in a movie about like France, but then you were to use the same story for Germany, and you were to use the same story for Italy, and it's kind of similar in that way that like they kind of paint natives with like a just one
Yeah.
tone. It's just headdress on a horse, and that's it. And like like especially back further
Yeah.
back you go,
Yes.
it's amazing. It's the same character.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the same character every time.
Exactly.
And if you were to do that with any other country, because it really is to me the way I started looking at it. I have a friend who's native, but they're here native. But I was like, oh, it's like little countries inside of they're different cultures within different cultures. So I was like, oh, if you started telling a story about like Russians, but they had an Italian accent and they were over here, it wouldn't make sense, and people
Yeah.
would be like, what are you doing? It's the same thing, but there's nobody there like you to go to those people and say,
Yeah.
okay, how are we going to tell this story? This one,
Yeah.
because it's so different.
I think it's just the whole authenticity to it too.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this generation is going, is with the whole feeling. Everybody's, like you can't help how you feel.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about creating these films,
Yeah.
is showing that us native people, we're the same as you. We have
Yeah.
the same emotions, we have the same feelings, but yet not too long ago, like even to this day, we're not considered like human beings.
Mm-hmm.
We're considered like savages.
Yeah.
So a lot of this whole European system, we're still, it's just a continuous battle.
So what's like? Tell me about like the Canadian system of like how, because like there's reservations here too,
No.
but I have to imagine it's different like in some ways of how that came about and how you ended up there.
Well, with us up in Canada, it's we signed treaties with the Queen,
Mm-hmm.
and like I guess treaties are like where we come to an agreement on certain things, and one of those, obviously, we were given land, and like maybe cows and plows,
Yeah.
to actually adapt into this whole new way of life of agriculture.
Yeah.
So we were promised all of these things, and so be it. We're on our reservations, and then we're given Indian agents out there, where Indian agents actually make sure we're corralled into these reservations and we don't leave.
Don't like go off the reservation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can't go off and hunt. We have to be dependent, or if we're going to go and hunt, we have to sign something, So yeah, it's like me too. I'm still kind of learning that whole
Intricate.
history
Yeah.
about it, But I mean, those are kind of the whole like the whole meat and bones, I guess, of
Yeah.
it. It's I guess now is I'm trying to actually, why I'm here is I'm trying to fight my way. I guess there's too much different ways of fighting that's not really going anywhere, and there's too many it's just not working the way we're trying to go to the table with the government, and nothing is coming through. We need to bring in more of the people, because it's the people who actually make change in this
Yeah.
world. It's not
Yeah.
the government. So
Especially nowadays, you have the ability to get your voice out there so easily
exactly.
in a way that I think when we were talking about like Dances with Wolves, when that was being made, that there was, probably only a few studios that were really serious, and it wasn't like someone could just get up and make a movie.
Yeah.
Today that is more of a possibility. You really kind of can.
Yeah.
If you know how,
Yeah.
there's ways of getting access to the equipment and doing it, and if you have the vision, it's an unprecedented
Exactly.
time for that.
Yeah, that's true. I really admire you know, like it's constant fight, but I admire where people are actually standing up for Indigenous people.
Yeah.
You know, like Leo DiCaprio, who you know won his actual first Oscar playing a role.
Recently, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
playing like with the help of Indigenous people,
Right,
the
right.
Revenant.
Revenant, yeah.
You know, and you know, like he actually went up and said some words up there on our behalf, and I respect him for that. And you know, like it even goes further to like Marlon Brando when he won his
Yeah, I remember that.
Oscar.
Yeah.
You know, and he didn't accept it. He actually had um, Sachi Littlefeather, I believe her name is. She was an actress,
Yeah.
and she went up and accepted the award for him
On his
because
behalf, yeah.
yeah, like he didn't even like how Indigenous people were being represented
Yeah.
in Hollywood.
He was ahead of his time in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's there. I think we just need uh, some sort of leader to actually spearhead the whole thing and actually kind of know what to do.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, because
Yeah.
there's support out there, but there's no actual representative in Hollywood here.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, it's I kind of get caught in moments about the position I'm in because it kind of overwhelms me at times because fuck, I'm in a position to actually be the first of this, be
Yeah.
the first of that. I'm gonna be actually the first native to graduate from the bachelor degree at the Los Angeles Film School.
Wow.
You know, and that actually it's pressure, but it's fucking it's exciting times, and it's, you know, it's long overdue. You know, who would have thought that I'd be in this position? You know, we
Yeah.
got professors excited for me to be here. We got professors actually looking forward to my final thesis, you know, or my final project upon graduating. Like there's pressure, but at the same time, I'm just kind of taking it one step at a time and actually trying to build a good foundation and not trying to rush it. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to learn as much as I can.
So what is the film school look like? Is it like a normal university where you major in something, or are you, you know, how does that work?
Well, I'm majoring in directing, but I'm finding out within the film school, the whole film production right now is everybody takes the exact same classes.
Okay.
So it's good though, because
Yeah.
you
learn
become
everything.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're more well-rounded. You
Yeah.
actually know how to communicate with everybody in every area. So I find it good.
And
That-
speak
yeah,
their language. Just they have their
exactly.
own- all the crew,
Exactly.
they all have their own language and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And
It's
just
its
kind
own-
of, you know, once you kind of walk in the shoes of in other people's areas, you respect it, you know. And then there's certain things you understand. You kind of like, okay, that I remember doing that. That'll probably take them. You know, you can kind of base how long it should take and this and that.
Yeah,
Or, you know,
yeah,
you know what I mean. So, but yeah, that's kind of why I want to extend my education and go for my master's after this and actually hone
focus
in on
yeah,
directing.
just that.
Yeah.
And that'll
so-
be more of like a focused in
yes.
type thing.
Yeah.
Where you'll get really expert at that.
Yeah, exactly. So right now I'm just enjoying the whole process
Yeah.
in Hollywood. You know, just meeting people like you, like Marvin, you know, like who
And
else?
how long have you been here? You've been here for 3 years then, right? 4
No,
years?
not quite. We've been here. We crossed the border right in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh wow, okay.
March. Actually, we crossed May 19th. We crossed the border.
You remember the day that you crossed?
Yeah, it was May 19th, right? Yes.
That's crazy.
Because we got here on the 21st.
Okay. You drove down?
We drove down.
Drove down
Yeah,
from-
and it was beautiful and kind of weird at the same
Yeah.
time. Seeing how.
Did you feel like you were because I mean you were leaving home,
Yeah.
so to speak, you know? Did you feel weird that you were
Felt excited.
yeah?
You know, I think this pandemic, it really opened our eyes.
Yeah.
Kind of made us like, you're limited on time. Do what you need to do. Have some fun. Chase your dreams. You
Yeah.
know. So we just packed up and said, let's go for it.
And when did you make that decision? Did you just, was it quick, or was it a long, you've been wanting to do it for a while, or did you just pack up and go?
Well, I started this 6-month course in Saskatoon, and like I said, I just wanted to take it to kind of learn a little more on how to edit and create little YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I completed that, I wasn't satisfied with, I needed more.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll apply for Toronto Film School. So I applied and I immediately got accepted there. So we packed up and then we headed to Toronto, and I was in school for only a few months. And then that's when the pandemic hit. Everything was shutting down.
Yeah.
And then my partner was like, I want to do something too. Let's move to LA.
It's not a small ask. That's a very good.
But I mean, it was. There were conversations, kind of. Hollywood kind of floated through our conversations a couple times.
Yeah.
Los Angeles particularly, and it just happened one day. She's like, we should move to LA. I was like, well, I don't want to move there if, just trying to go start out, and I'd rather go there if we had a reason. She was like, okay, well. So she applied for school.
Okay.
That just happened. She's like, well, okay, within just maybe a couple days. That's how quick it happened.
Yeah.
All of a sudden she's like, well, I made it into school out there. I was like, okay, well, it's like, I'm invested in Toronto right now, and I got kind of like a good spot to kind of like come up good there. I had it kind of good.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of iffy. I was like, we kind of relationships kind of have arguments, and it kind of came where I was like, I don't want to go. But we somehow ended up, she's like, well, if you get in, would you go? I was like, okay, well, yeah, if I were to get into school out there, I would go.
I'll go. Yeah.
So she's like, okay, well, and that was that, that was the end of the conversation or whatever. She had access to all my information, like from the Toronto Film School, like with the applications and all of that. She would kind of do a couple emails for me, submit my, my storyboard, everything.
Yeah.
So she submitted that for me to Los Angeles Film School. And then all of a sudden it happened so quick, like within 2 days.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised because when I applied to college, it took months.
Yeah.
And you guys are getting in like that. I mean,
Yeah.
film school seems to be on it. I don't know what what the deal is, but
well, Heather's so good with applications. She knows how to just make them stand out.
Yeah.
And
It's a skill.
yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden she's like, okay, well, we should, we're gonna head out to LA. I was like, what? And you're coming. It's like, what do you mean?
Something tells me she wanted to come to LA really bad. there's a bit of a, something's
Yeah.
telling
So
me.
she was like, you got accepted. I was like, what? She's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I applied for you and you're in there. I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
It was that quick, There's no hesitating, I wanted to move out here to be a part of a community though.
Yeah.
So we packed up from Toronto, drove back to Saskatoon, took us 30 hours. We were driving through a blizzard and, whatever. I mean, we were alive though, this is a whole new adventure. Let's do this, so we drove to Saskatoon, said bye to her parents and my dad and made the drive out here.
Yeah.
Drove to Vegas it was pretty, like I said, it was beautiful and kind of weird at the same time, because just seeing how Vegas was shut down
Oh yeah.
and actually seeing
Yeah.
it with our eyes. And
That's a weird city to be shut down.
yeah,
It's such an odd. It's like all this stuff and it's empty. It's weird.
yeah. But it was good though. It's as weird as it may sound. It seemed like the pandemic opened a lot of doors for us.
That's good.
It
Yeah.
it speeded us right up. You know, like we were just, we didn't want to stop. We kind of seen it as okay. You know, like it lit a fire under us,
Yeah.
and it just got us here. You know, and we just would travel around LA and actually just kind of just experience, take in the whole Los Angeles.
Well, the one thing I wanted to ask you actually was about like, so you guys came down to LA, you guys hopped in the car, showed up in LA, and what was like your first thing? Did you already been accepted to school? You had to get a job, do something.
Yep.
So it's not like you could just go to school. You had to also find a job in LA, which is no small feat.
Yes, kind of everything. You know, there's so much that was that we had to do. You know, but we were out here, and that was our goal: is just get here. Let's figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of the thing was we just went for it. Came here. Let's figure it out when we get there.
Yeah.
You know, and when we came here, we quickly realized okay, let me backtrack a little bit. Okay, in order to get to kind of cross the border, there's so many freaking, you know, rules and regulations you
Yeah.
need, because the whole pandemic is there. So on initially crossing the very first time, we got turned back at the border.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. We needed so many documents. We needed to prove that we were Native American. We needed to prove we had more than 50% blood quantum.
Oh.
We needed birth certificates, passports, you know, like
The whole thing.
like this. Yeah.
So do you have a Canadian passport, or do you have
Yes.
like do you have your own passport?
Yeah, I have Canadian passport.
Okay. And then you have like documentation saying I'm such and such percent of, you know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
depending on what tribe you are.
Our band office has all of that information. You know, where we're from.
Okay.
Reservation. You know, we have like businesses out there that document everything like that. So those stuff we're kind of, you know,
Used
like,
to?
not really. We're not used to actually having to try and prove
You're not at all,
that
okay.
we're native.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. It's
So
usually
this-
a given.
so this was new. This was new for me to actually, you know, okay, prove that
Yeah.
you're native, right? So
And you're just kind of like,
yeah, exactly.
Like,
so
look at me.
I mean,
Believe me,
like
please.
we had our treaty cards, right?
how far from the border is where you live?
About 5-6 hours.
Okay, so it wasn't like a
Depends.
20-minute turnaround. It was,
No.
you drove a ways,
Yeah, we drove away.
and then you get there and they say, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we're gonna need all these documents and
Is
before
this
you
a
actually
is
cross.
this like a pandemic thing?
Oh, yeah.
Or is this,
No.
okay.
Yes and no, you know, because upon actually coming to live out in the States, you actually need like a visa or some sort of work visa,
Yeah.
which I've never really kind of occurred to me, because us as Native people, we're kind of dual citizens in a way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of called the J Treaty, which we kind of were always educating
Yeah.
kind of like these officials on, even at the border. They're like, no, you guys, you know, like, can't get through. Well, you know, according to the J Treaty, we can.
Yeah.
And security didn't even know about it, so we had
Yeah.
to kind of educate them about it. And then a higher official came up and kind of like, yeah, that's a, they're good to go.
They're fine,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were doing so many firsts, it seemed, that it was kind of unheard of for what we were doing, like even with our school.
Yeah.
to get into our school is we were considered international students on the application.
In LA.
In Los Angeles, yeah. And we had to educate them on the J tree. No, we're dual citizens. We don't need this green card visa, etc. We're, we have our status cards.
So that works down here too.
I mean, it is now.
It's supposed to.
It is, yeah. It is for us. And there's just so many, there's like how many obstacles for us to actually be a part of, to actually cross the border, to get into school. We needed to prove to the border security that we had so much, like, what the heck was it? It was a crazy amount of money we needed in our accounts to show that.
Really?
Yeah, to show that we could actually live out here.
Yeah.
And we had nowhere near that amount.
I've actually, the funny thing you say about that is I've actually heard about that for people wanting to move to Canada. That we need to have something. And I was like, damn, I'm like, there's a lot. You need to have a lot. I'm like, that's not happening. Like, if I'm doing that well, I'm not leaving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, but that's the thing we had to fight through. Yeah. There was these obstacles in front of us that probably how many people got turned away from.
Right.
But as persistent as Heather and as much as I have her back on, things that ain't right, is like, we'll go for it. We're gonna push through it.
Yeah.
And we did. And we kind of laugh and look back when we look back on how far we came and just the amount of obstacles in our way that we had to overcome. It's mind-boggling to think like, wow, and we laugh about it because it's funny to us because we went for it,
right.
And it's unheard of. But I mean that's what it takes to actually make some noise or just be heard.
Yeah.
So
to me, it would be, it's less of a story if you just gave up. I mean, if you just went back home and forget it.
Exactly.
You wouldn't be on your way, to where you're going. So
exactly,
it's definitely something that's that's going to be part of like your, I always tell people like when they're going through difficulty, it's like that's part of your biography. This is the first couple chapters of this new era for you.
I mean, it's easy to. It would have been easy to just give up and go back home and have that support back home.
Yeah.
It would be, you'd be comfortable, but at the same time,
you feel like you'd be missing something.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was never kind of the thought of, sure, we kind of talk about it, but it's not like we give that a lot of time to dwell on trying to give up or go back. It's at the same time, like when people are seeing my statuses on social media, and there are a lot of hard times, like you said, like you need a job out here, like what are you gonna do? We have 2 kids too, and it's but you can't give up. It's I don't know, we just fucking made it. We just took it day by day.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we had a shitload of money in our accounts. We were living just kind of like almost a month we had enough for at a time. Then it would go down. Like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, when we crossed the border, we needed to actually show them that we were students of the Los Angeles Film School. We had that in place. We had a actual place to live when we get to Los Angeles, and we had to prove. We just started out with Airbnb. We rented this trailer, actually. That's the only thing we could find because everything's
closed,
closing down.
Yeah.
And we found this one trailer. It had everything we needed. It had 2 beds, 3 beds, TV, air conditioning, You know, like had the plumbing, cooking, you know, like what do we, that's all we need.
Yeah.
We're going to explore anyways and just come back to the trailer when we're going to sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
So we paid for that for a month, and you know, that's as far as we were going. We weren't trying to, we didn't have a 1 year plan or anything like that. It was just, let's just do this, you know, like the pandemic kind of made us think like that, right? We don't know
Yeah.
what's next. So
Yeah.
let's just try and stay in this moment and just survive. And then we kind of realized, okay, well, we need our green card or some sort of other documents now, or social security number. We needed that to actually work out here
Yeah.
and actually start school. Everything shut down. Social security places shut down.
Yeah.
Can't go in there, and you have to go in person. Even that was an obstacle. But as persistent as Heather was, like, made sure, like, fuck, we need this for school every day, always getting on them. Finally, yeah, you guys could come in, bring your documents. We go in there, and, you know, there's other things they're trying to throw in our way, put another obstacle in our way. But, you know, Heather, again, at the same time, we had to educate those people there. No, we're part of the J Treaty. We belong to, we're dual citizens, et cetera, et cetera. And they had to call their supervisor, same thing, you know.
Like,
and as persistent as we were,
yeah.
we actually got to somebody who could make the call, the decision, to actually say, okay, let's get them their documents that they need.
What they need.
Exactly. So, and then that got to the whole next phase. Like, it was a constant battle. We needed this step to get to the next step, to get to the next step. And now that we look back on it, fuck, there's about 15 steps just to kind of get us here and into school. And, you know, like, that's kind of where we're at, one step at a time. That's kind of how we're moving. But at the same time, it's building a good foundation for us. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You had a dream that you wanted to accomplish, and you guys kind of, you know, weren't going to let anything stop you.
I mean, our dreams are actually kind of evolving with us right now, you know?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, kind of, it's just, our dream was kind of just, let's just get to LA, you know,
Mm-hmm.
let's just go there. But then as we're here now and actually seeing the position of actual power that we possess or are capable of grasping and actually directing, it's kind of like shaping our dreams to actually we can create our dreams pretty much. It's like our dream, my dream personally wasn't clear.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt I would be okay though. Growing up, I always knew I was going to be okay no matter what. But there were times where that confidence would dim out, and it would kind of get me scared. Like, I'd be off track. I'd be like, okay, this is not right. I need to straighten out.
Yeah.
You know, I need to actually stop fucking around, stop drinking so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Focus.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's just kind of now, I don't know, there's so much kind of that's kind of unfolding now that kind of happened in the past to kind of actually make me actually start to believe that there's no, it's not by accident that I'm here, you know. Been told by my mom that that she envisioned, like, she seen me doing something big, you know, out of all the, I guess your mother says the right words to, because I come from a family where there's 7 of us children, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure she had conversations with one of my sister about, you know, about her mom, because her mom passed away like about 8-9 years, going on 9 years now. from cancer.
Wow.
And you know, it was hard, you know, because usually like it's kind of like the mothers, they're the glue to a family,
Yeah.
you know. And after she left, it was scattered. Everybody, the glue was gone. Everybody kind of went their own direction and kind of hid from, you know, the family gatherings. And it was kind of a difficult time. And you know, but at the same time, it was, her time was done to kind of take care of us, and they kind of forced everybody to kind of stand on their own feet,
Yeah.
including me, you know. And it's you know, like I said, I was having a conversation with my sister about, you know, what my mom had told me, and then she would come back and tell me, you know, Mom told me that I was the strongest of the family, you know. So she had all these things that she told, I'm sure, all of us, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that they were all true, because she didn't tell us all the same thing, you know. So, and you know, and I would find that kind of difficult at times, even with Heather, when she would kind of say she sees something in me, you know. At times it, you know, it's you kind of you don't see it in yourself or something, you know, like,
Yeah.
or if you, like, even if you have a friend or something and you see something in them and they don't see it in themselves, though. But I guess I'm kind of just on this journey to actually try and chase what they've seen, and actually try and believe it, truly believe it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm starting to believe it. And yeah,
So how is like your family feel about all this? The family that are still up there and still on the reservation, and you know.
yeah. My dad's still at his house. I have um, 4 older sisters.
Okay.
I lost one sister when I was 15 years old. She passed away in a car accident.
Oh.
3 of my older sisters are, you know, they're close by, but my other sister lives in Edmonton, big city in Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
My other sister's a teacher on our First Nation. My other older sister, she's a cook. Anyway, she does like catering. My other sister's like a TA at the school. My younger sister, and my brother's he's a heavy equipment operator up in the oil mines, oil mines in Fort McMurray.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, me, I'm out here. You know, what do they think about it? They, you know, they're happy that I'm out here.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, they have their own lives. You know, like, so I'm not. It's not like everything's all focused on me a
Right.
whole lot. They're busy with their own families too, but they're very supportive, and I try and call them like once a week, you know, just to let them know that I'm still here and I'm the one who's making the effort to call back. Not
Right,
not
right.
kind of like I'm leaving,
Right.
and leaving everything behind. So yeah, it's good though. I mean, yeah, like I was talking about social media, you know, like my posts and that. At first, I was hesitant on kind of sharing the whole experience, because I didn't want to see it as boasting, or, you
Right.
know, showing
Right.
off to people and them getting it twisted, thinking that, you know, I'm thinking I'm better than them because I'm out here. So, but at the same time, few posts that I would make, I would get people reaching out to me, you know, and being inspired by me, asking me questions like, how did you do it? Like, What
Right.
did you do? What are
Right.
the steps? And then that's when I kind of realized that, like, is the right people will see what I'm doing and actually take the right out of it, rather than, like a lot of maybe the sour ones who will kind of see it as me being so-called better than them. So I just continue to try and tell that story, like post different parts of Los Angeles, like the ocean, the mountains, like,
Yeah.
and it just kind of like, man, now that I'm putting myself out there and seeing all these people be inspired by me, it's kind of like I gotta actually fucking succeed now, like I have to, like I'm fucking on a stage. Everybody knows I'm here.
Now you have to do it.
And now I have to do it.
Yeah.
I can't just move away somewhere and kind of get, and live my life. And now like, man, like there's so many people speaking about me, like even my chief had joked around, because I speak with her from time to time just to check in, because that's kind of where I get some assistance from. Because out here, I'm being rejected because I'm not a part of a tribe, or all these organizations aren't going to help me because I'm not from the United States.
Okay.
And then from Canada is like, you're not living in Canada.
So you're part of an indigenous tribe up in Canada.
Yes.
You're a dual citizen of Canada and your tribe, right? Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
But they don't recognize it down here as the same. Like if you're a Native American down here and like a United States citizen, it doesn't translate.
Well, that's the thing is, like kind of, I don't fit into their brackets of
Right.
applications. I'm outside of Canada's and outside of United States here.
Right.
So the only way, like, like I said, when we were talking about work and like, what am I gonna do just to kind of survive out here, So I'm just applying for, like any kind of funding, because I wanted to put 100% of my time and effort into this education and not be worried about, like going to work.
Have to go to work.
Exactly.
And you're
And
exhausted.
being tired and this and that. So I fucking, reached out to my community and asked for that support, and sure enough, I was lucky enough to be helped by my chief, and that's only partial though, right?
Yeah. Right.
And like, need more money, but in order to make more, or to actually work out here, you need a social security card number. And like I said, it was a problem getting it, but we ended up getting it anyways. And now it's the next step. We're staying in an Airbnb. Let's try and apply for a house. Let's do that. Okay, well, now that we're applying, what's your credit score? Okay.
One step at a time. But
Exactly.
Each step is a pain in the ass.
All right. So now that we moved out here, we got to start out completely brand new credit. We don't have credit at all.
Oh my gosh.
So that was another thing that we had to kind of start to build. So we're like, back to the grind. What are we gonna do? Where are we gonna stay? These Airbnb. Now we rented a full house in Airbnb, and the rent was like $4,500. So we're like, okay, we're staying there. We're still kind of doing the whole tourist thing, always going to the ocean and just checking out. Like, the freeways were empty, we can go fast.
Yeah. That's over. I've noticed.
Exactly. So I mean, we were free, man.
Yeah.
And then, it just, we began to think like, okay, now we kind of need to really, our money is getting low. We kind of really need to figure out what we need. What are we going to do now?
Right.
You know, it's getting
Right.
to that point. All the Airbnbs now are, you know, slowly kind of like actually all booked, the ones that are open.
Right.
So Heather was, you know, she's really good with like applications, going online and finding opportunities. And she's like, well, there's this one house I always wanted to stay at ever since we got here. It's good reviews, and it's with a couple. And they're like, I was like, I don't know if I want to stay with other people and live under somebody's rules and guidelines, especially, you know, with the kids. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. She's like, it'll be good. It's
Yeah.
okay. There's good reviews. It's safe. And I was like, oh. I was like, you know what? If you really want to, let's do it.
We'll give it a try.
Yeah. So, you know, we checked out of our house, and then we had like check-in time was like 4 o'clock, and then it was like noon hour, and we're kind of tired from doing the whole tourist thing now.
Right,
So we're like,
right.
"Shit, let's just take the kids to the park, let them go run around." So we went to the park, and it was out in Van Nuys there. And we're just kind of laying there. Now it's kind of hitting us about, we need to figure this shit out. You know, like, what are we going to do? We only have like fucking 2 weeks left of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I was like, well, let's just, you know, let's go with the flow. Let's just keep going.
Right.
I said, it's kind of how it's always been for us. It's like, yeah, you're right. You know, we'd have these discussions whenever somebody's feeling a little unconfident. We'd pick each other up, which I think is kind of what got us here. Is always somebody was needing that, you know, and eventually all of a sudden it was like 4 o'clock, so I didn't know what to expect, you know.
Yeah.
And so we got there, and as soon as we got there, there's this Filipino guy. His name is Gino, and he is straight out the door, and he's like, welcome, you know, like right away. I was like, okay, it just felt very welcoming.
That's
right
nice,
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're really good friends of ours now. Is Gino and Scott, and they're a couple. They just got married recently
Oh, that's funny.
out in Hawaii. But yeah, man, they became.
It was like
they're
it ended up being good. It
exactly,
was
it was
just
good
one of those things.
right from the start.
You weren't sure before,
Yeah.
but then it ended up being a good
Exactly. So as
Yeah.
soon as we got there, you know, it was just like, we needed this because, you know, the whole pandemic, everybody can't really visit each other.
Right,
and then
right,
it's
right.
us. It's always us just alone in like the trailer, or, you know, like now in the house, it's just kind of us. Even though we were going places, it was still, you know, people were scared.
It's empty, yeah. And not very.
Exactly.
Especially when you're at the time, like most people were wearing a mask. So even
Yeah.
that, you know, there's a large amount of people that I know that I've met over the pandemic, but I hadn't seen their face. Like I hadn't, and so it was like, oh, like I distinctly remember running into someone, and it was like, I walked by them, like they were like, Tyler, and I'm like, you know, hey, do I know you? Like, and they were like, yeah, and I was like a little bit like this, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I know you. You know, it was just weird. It was a weird, a weird
exactly.
time.
You can't see somebody smiling, right? There's just no expression.
You
there.
don't really meet them until you see their whole face.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, right from the start, it was good. You know, like they welcomed us in. And then again, we only rented that place for like, I think it was 4 nights, you know, like that's all. We kind of wanted to test it out, right?
Yeah.
So I told Heather, I was like, okay, well, let's check it out for like 4 nights. So we did, and at the end of our stay, like we didn't know like how it was gonna be, but we ended up loving it there. So we're like, we asked them, could we, extend longer?
Yeah.
They're like, we're all booked up,
Oh, yeah.
We're like, yeah, well, we kind of thought that, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we thought we'd ask anyways. And then that was that, we kind of just hung out that night, having some endless summer drinks, I guess, with them,
Yeah, yeah.
and meeting other guests there. And then upon checkout day, the next day, they come and got us up in our room. And they said, we got something to show you guys. And I'm like, okay, like we're thinking, okay, like
Yeah.
a well-off gift, So me and Heather went walking downstairs, and then they walked us to a room, which was their garage, which was kind of their storage room.
Right.
But they cleaned it all up for us, painted it. There's a couple beds in there, TV, everything.
wow.
So they
Like more space.
made a room for us there.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Because they really loved us too, And Scott, to this day, he was like, because we talk about it
Yeah.
when we go and visit, and there are times when he brought up, he's like, just that night when you guys asked us if you guys could extend, and we couldn't, but at the same time, realizing that we could, there's something in me that just felt that I needed to help you guys,
Right.
and so he was telling us, so I told Gino, let's fix that room up for them,
Yeah.
So they did.
Just
They
some,
stayed
good
up.
people.
They
Yeah.
stayed up all night doing that. They didn't even sleep.
That's so sweet.
That was amazing, man.
That must feel good. That's
Oh,
a
it
good-
was.
Such a, yeah.
It was fucking amazing because we ended up staying there for a little over 9 months after that.
Wow.
10 months in total.
Wow. That 4 days turned in, you weren't even sure about it. You were kind of like, nah,
Heck no,
I don't
man.
really want to do that. I don't blame you. I would be probably the same way because if I heard that there's more people there,
So
don't think so.
it took a while,
Yeah.
because like I said, we needed our social security numbers, and that was taking a while. And that kind of gave us that time to actually to build up to actually where we're at now.
Right.
And they just became family. Now to this day, they're always inviting us over to their house.
Yeah.
They invite Christmas. We spent our pandemic Christmas there with them, and they bought us a bunch of gifts, and we bought them gifts, exchanged it, and it was just us and them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we really helped them out a lot too. They had told us, even just with their relationship,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was good. It's, we were meant to meet each other, and we love them, they love us, and it's it's going good. But then from there, we finally got our social security numbers. Now we can actually start trying to work. And so, okay, well, what kind of work we gonna do? What's gonna fit our because I got school all day, and Heather is actually going to school too, and then she actually
You're fine. This table. It's the table. Go ahead and keep going.
but
I'm gonna try and get the table.
we found something that that kind of fit with us, and that was door dashing. We had a vehicle, could drive around. We can work at our own hours, and it was enough to just get us by. So, and then from there, it was Heather wanted to actually be a personal assistant out here. That was kind of one of her dreams for a celebrity. And
What was her celebrity dream?
just to work for someone in the whole industry, and actually just doing that whole personal assistant kind of thing you see in the movies.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like just
They always look stressed. They always look,
and it is.
and
It
they are
is.
always stressed. I can tell you from personal
Yep.
experience, they're always stressed.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
is too, because she actually was a personal assistant, and it was very
Very
stressful.
like, it's amazing
you
how,
know,
yeah,
like, but I mean, that's just kind of, it's weird. It's not like we had a blueprint for where we're at right now, man,
right.
and we still don't know what the heck's the next moves next few months down the line. But I mean, we're setting seeds, you know, and that's kind of how it's always been, is we've always set seeds ahead of us though.
Yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden, boom, something fucking comes out of nowhere.
You're like working with what you have. in your-
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, I tend to get a little stressed out when I try and think about the future
Yeah.
too much.
Too far in the
A little
future,
too far,
maybe.
because there's nothing there at all, or the pieces to the puzzle aren't even there at all. So
Yeah.
I tend to just try and stay within a week or two right now.
Yeah, that's not a bad strategy. No, I mean, I know from experience with, I mean, I have a very different background and a very similar background at the same time. Like I dropped everything to do what I do now, and it's at a time when you're trying to explain to people, well, so what are you gonna do? And it's like, well, you know, I have an idea, but I only can tell you like the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
You know, like I know where I want to go,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that I've done, at least in this industry in particular, has been like that. You kind of have a, you know, let me just get to this point,
Yeah.
and then I'll get to the next point.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like rock climbing. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let me just get to that right there. I'm not gonna look up there. I'm just gonna look here.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you look too far, you're gonna give yourself anxiety
Mm-hmm.
unnecessarily. But that's a crazy. I mean, that's just like a crazy journey from where you were all the way down through during a pandemic,
Yeah.
a once in 100-year event.
Yeah.
You know that no one else is traveling. So in a way, you're alone on the freeway. You know, you're
Yeah.
staying in these Airbnbs. You're doing what you can.
Yeah.
You know, but you have this vision of what you want to do, which is create films for
Exactly.
people like you that you, so you can see yourself in those films, right?
Yeah. I think it's more of it's history, you know, it's
Yeah.
more of actually telling that history, because it's the only way that I think that we can actually come together and understand each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of through what's going on right now, through social media, videos, you know,
Yeah,
like,
video content.
yeah, exactly.
Any
Just
type.
like,
Yeah.
what are people doing now? People are watching videos, you know, and that's where they're all getting their educational things from, like TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, you see everybody, oh, I learned this on TikTok.
Yeah.
I learned this, you know, okay, well,
When I first met you guys, I was like, he needs to do a TikTok, even if he doesn't know what it is or how. Not that I'm necessarily. I'm behind the camera.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm actually even on camera. I don't like being on camera, but I imagine you're probably somewhat similar, where you're like, I'd
Yeah.
rather be behind it, but
yeah.
but when you have that kind of story, you know, people love that,
Mm-hmm.
and they just love to hear. They just love to hear it.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's been a few different people. I think they're Native American in particular. I sent you one of them, and I was like, this is a model who does this whole thing. He educates people on TikTok,
Yeah.
and he's a model too, but he does some really cool stuff. But you know, once you get through your, like, you know, you're done with school and you're starting to work on projects, like that's going to
Yeah.
be a good time for you to start, you know, educating people about the process, and then actually through the actual
Yeah.
finished product, you know.
Exactly. Like, I'm in the process right now of just doing like a short, because I just want to like document this whole experience,
Yeah.
and I feel that needs to be documented.
Yeah.
And I love documentaries, you know, because of the the real emotion through, you know, people who aren't really like actors, you know. So that's kind of what I want to, and with all this new knowledge that I'm gaining, I want to, you know, sample with it and, you know, like get better with it as I go, you know, tweak what I think I need to do. Like I just need to start somewhere. But at the same time, I didn't want to start too early too.
Right.
You know, so I feel I'm in a good position right now to actually create a short little doc.
Yeah.
And actually just evolve from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your first like, you know,
Yeah,
project.
exactly.
And that's something that you want to. Are you have you put anything in place for that, or are you still looking for?
Well, I mean, I collect a lot of footage, you know, like when I travel or, you know, just around.
Yeah.
I create footage, but I kind of envision it like me just kind of maybe just talking over some of the footage, and then getting actually some role of me, maybe actually, you know, blending my conversation into it, you know. So it's, I mean, yeah, man, I'm just okay where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
You know,
You have a passion and you're happy with what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing that I want to, you know, when I get asked, like, what do you want to shoot? What do you want to create? And it always goes back to telling, like where I come from, because I feel that I have that right to tell. It's because it's part of me, part of my bloodline.
Right.
You know, so I'd rather want to tell that first than expanding. But there's a really good story that me and Heather wrote up. It was it's good. We submitted it for competition. Unfortunately, we didn't win. But I mean, that's just a starter of it, you know. Like, I don't expect to come out and win right away. And it's very interesting, you know. I mean, but I want to tell a story of like a feud between my tribe and like the Blackfoot tribe. There's a war there, and there's a grudge continued to this day between the two.
Really?
Yeah. So it, you know, like I went to work out on Blackfoot territory before, and I would kind of get a lot of this, you know, kind of eyes on me, or, you know, like a feeling of like, they would call us, what that could, Sagichuan. Forget what they called us, but, you know, you could tell when somebody's calling you something in their language that it's not
negative.
Very, yeah, it's negative.
Yeah, you can usually tell.
So I kind of wondered about it, you know. It didn't really dawn on me a whole lot because I didn't really know the history there too. Like, I'm still kind of learning my history at the same time too.
And where are they from? They're from like Michigan?
They're from down northern Montana and southern Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting to kind of know that people didn't hate me as a person, but kind of hated me because I'm Cree.
Interesting.
And then I kind of wanted to know why. So I kind of did a little bit of research, asked questions, and then apparently there was this long feud.
How long?
Like hundreds of years.
Like ridiculously long.
And it was because our tribe tried to take out that tribe over like land or hunting territory.
Interesting.
You know, so, and it's very cool because from what I know of the story is there's like 300 warriors from my tribe that went out to try and it was in a time of the era when the government had tried to wipe everybody, all us natives, out with like those smallpox infested blankets.
Yeah.
And they would distribute it to bands. And the smallpox blankets got to a band within that whole group. There's different bands within that, the Blackfoot tribe.
Okay.
So there's this one band that we got word of that was, you know, that was sick. So we thought the whole community
tribe
was
was
sick.
sick.
So we're like, okay, this is a good time to strike. Little did we know, all the 300 warriors come, and we ended up taking out
The sick one.
the sick ones, but then these ones were healthy.
They were
And
fine.
and they're warriors, man, like warriors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they ended up depleting almost all of us there.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and yeah, there's so many stories like within that war itself, though, too, that I wanna tell, not just the war itself, but
Historical
yeah,
things,
exactly.
interesting things.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
But I want to team up with a Blackfoot director or producer or something,
Yeah.
to get their side of the story too, so
Yeah.
we can collaborate, you know, and tell it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so things like that, I just want to bring to light, you know, like I just think there's a lot of beauty in it, and like I want to do with the authentic languages, you know, and
Yeah.
then just put subtitles, because
It's great.
that's the purest within
Yeah.
itself. So,
Yeah.
yeah, because our languages are still, you know, alive.
Really? Okay.
And the thing about it is I'm kind of within my age level right now. 40 is kind of when we're kind of losing that language, though. It's kind of thinning, you know. Before me, it was like, even right now, my dad, my mom, they would always talk to me in Cree growing up, so I understand it. But having to be assimilated into like this European way of life, and going to school and having to just, you know, speak English, and the whole residential school era where it was none of our practices or, you know, way of life was no good.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it. We couldn't be ourselves. So it's, you know, it's a lot of things that I'm kind of actually overcoming. Like my generation right now is kind of overcoming those traumas right now, and actually standing up and actually trying to do something about it. So that's just kind of my way of actually trying to fight
Yeah.
the system. And that's just to show people that, you know, like, we're the same as you, you know. So
Do you speak Cree at home, or like when you're in your family, or do you?
no, I don't. I don't speak it fluently,
Oh, okay.
but I could speak it if I were to write it down and think about it.
Yeah.
Then you know what I mean.
That's my relationship with
Yeah.
Spanish.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's if you don't use it,
Yeah.
it fades away, and then to where
Exactly.
I could make my way through Spain or Mexico, but I couldn't comfortably speak it.
Okay.
Or at least I wouldn't feel like I'd feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
But I could read it and be like, okay, I know where to, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know
but
the feeling.
but I understand it though, and there's just more of an impact through language.
Yeah.
You know, it's powerful. So it's something that we need to hang on to.
Yeah.
And the good thing about nowadays is everything can be recorded and documented. So,
Right.
I mean, you know, there was talks in the past of, like, me growing up maybe 10 years ago, and you hear older people saying, you know, like, our language is gonna be lost.
Right.
You know, and that's what they were worried about, is because once we lose our language, we lose our identity, you know, and that's kind of our direct line to, you know, our prayers and our ceremonies, and that's through language, what we were given.
Yeah.
To that direct line.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And then sure, it's a different. I know with a lot of languages as well. Like when you translate it, it doesn't always quite
Exactly.
mean the same thing.
Yeah.
When you translate from something to something else, you lose a little bit of.
I think it's
intent.
that exactly. It's that whole emotion and that intent, and just the way you. It's like you put yourself through that language.
Right.
It's like it's like your emotions can travel through it.
Right.
You know, and maybe you speak a little sterner or something, or just the way the words can mean, the same words can mean different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And especially with who it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And
But I mean, that's a goal that I want to do, is become fluent, and I understand it. I actually took a Cree class, and the lady was telling me it's not going to take you long to speak Cree. It'll probably take you 1 year to become fluent,
that's not
because
bad.
you
You already know.
already know, like, you hear it, and
Yeah.
so
That's always, they say, the best way to learn too is to be around people
immersion. Yes.
that
Yeah.
speak it, only speak it.
Exactly. Yeah, because you don't become you let your guard down to be vulnerable around them,
Yeah.
I guess. And then when you're around other maybe students or friends, your guard is up. You don't want to make mistakes or
Right.
get laughed
Right.
at.
Right. Exactly. No, that's
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. But
You'd rather just not attempt it
exactly.
than be wrong.
But when you're around older people or elders, it's like almost you get that little lift, and that's it. It literally helps you.
Yeah.
So.
He's worried about not quite being 100% accurate in
Yeah.
his language, but he moved across 2 countries to go down to on a whim with no fear. So, there's small things. There's these small things.
Exactly.
That's such a common thing, You don't want to, like, especially speaking in the language, you're around people who are fluent. It's such a weird anxiety you get. You're like, it's like the biggest block.
Yeah.
That you don't want to make a mistake, because
Yeah.
they're going to be looking at you like,
But it's just so when we used to have our Christmas, like, family gatherings, and
Yeah.
all my aunts and uncles would be around, the kids, like, that's all it spoke was just Cree.
yeah,
And you understood, like, growing up as a kid, like, you understood the Cree, but then when you get taken out of that environment, it's like you thin out,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, so
It's interesting.
yeah.
It's such an interesting, like, like, there's a history to it. There's a whole, but it can't be that many, compared to, like, trying to learn Spanish or learn English.
Yeah.
It's not. You have to go probably back home or go to
Yeah,
and be around it.
exactly. To actually get that, the way you enunciate,
Right.
pronounce it, is
Yeah. Without an
the
accent.
authenticity of it. Yeah, is being around the original
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Because when there's a difference when you go to a university,
Mm-hmm.
you have a scholar teach you. It's sharp.
Yeah.
With our language, there's it's kind of rounded out, but when you go to university, it's just so sharp.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
the edging and the language.
It has to be something akin to how, like English sounds.
Yeah.
When you hear
Yeah,
the
exactly.
proper English,
Yeah.
it's so, like, whoa. And then you hear, like, Australians talk or something, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's just like it's not. It's the same language, but
Yeah.
you're talking 2 different languages in a sense.
Yeah.
And if you learn, it's important who you learn from, because if you learn growing up from your family,
Yeah.
then that's a connection to your family.
Yeah.
Versus
Exactly.
just from a book. You could technically probably learn, but you're gonna still sound robotic, in a way. It's not the same. Close, but not the same. That's why that's an interesting concept too for a movie, to have it be, and it's, again, like, another thing that's becoming more common is seeing, having people do it in Korean or do it in Mandarin, or do it whatever the movie, if it's a
Mm-hmm.
like Parasite was done, and it was very successful.
Yeah.
And people, like, you do it, read, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
There was always that stigma for having the subtitles.
Yeah.
You might lose some people, but
Mm-hmm.
On balance, though, I think you'd get a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I think that social media too has a hand in that now, because you see so many times scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, they're auto-generating subtitles now.
Oh, okay.
So they're having AI do subtitles,
Yeah.
and I'll catch myself reading a video without actually listening to the audio.
Yeah.
So I'll be scrolling through, and if I'm somewhere quiet, I'm reading it, and I'm not really even listening to it. I'm reading it.
Yeah.
And so if someone was to put in front of me, a movie like that, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, like, it doesn't take away from it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to have, there's certain types of movies that I understand why they do it. There's some movies I love that are historical movies, but they do it in like they speak English, but it's a very, they might use, like when there's a movie in particular, I can't remember the movie, but they're Russians, and they do them in English accents, but they're different types of English accents to give you a sense of how they are.
Yeah.
Because if you were, it's more of a comedy though, so it's kind of supposed to be a little over the top.
Yeah.
But it's not historical, it's more of a comedic kind of historical.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that, it works, it's fine. But when you're trying to go through and do like a real, like almost like a record,
Yeah.
it would be, groundbreaking to me to do something in a language that like that is, even if it's only for a small group, you're still going to have a huge audience that's going to be able to read it and be exposed to it.
Yeah.
And that's that visibility you're talking about.
I know it's exciting though right now. Like I go through different emotions because just meeting other people in the industry. For example, I live in a building where I run into a few people who one guy's a director, and he's not too far ahead of me within, like he was just in the same school as me. Like I think he just decided to drop out and kind of go ahead and start to pursue it.
Yeah.
And that's not even maybe 8 months ahead of me. You know what I mean? But he's already like fucking known on an international level, where he won a short, like in, where the fuck did he win? Indie films in India and Paris, somewhere anyways. Like his short is taking awards, and like that's kind of why I'm excited, just knowing like that's a possibility, because a lot of these film festivals are kind of the beginning point for where people come to kind of see the up and comer directors or writers and this. So I feel I'm kind of like in the perfect position right now to actually have that have the audience and have the platforms or the decision makers, the people to actually push my projects further if they feel that they like it.
Yeah.
And I believe they will. So it's, I don't want to try and jump ahead of myself and live in that possibility stage. I just kind of stay where I'm at and just keep going, and that time will come. So it's exciting right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you tell someone who's listening, like, who has like some insurmountable dream that they want to follow, from someone who's chasing his?
I don't know. Like I would, every time I see interviews or anything like that, this is kind of the question everybody kind of always, asks,
Exactly.
And so I'm kind of like, what would I
want to
say?
hear if it's different.
What would I say? Yeah. What would I say? But, like it's just keep going, as simple as it is just keep going. Don't give up. There's going to be hard times ahead. You're going to cry. You're going to question your whole existence, but just keep going. Like you're here for a reason. And if you believe that, just keep going. Because I'm from an area where there's a lot of suicides, like it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
And people tend to give up. And I think it's just, we all have our bad times in life, but it's that decision when you come to that crossroads, you have a choice, and just choose to keep going. Your time to shine will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. Just keep going.
There you
So,
go.
yeah.
That's it. So you're Chief Hollywood on Instagram.
Chief Hollywood on Instagram. Yeah, I figured that Hollywood needs a chief. Nobody's making their presence out here. I never heard of a native Chief Hollywood, so I figure, fuck.
I honestly
now's the
haven't
time
either.
to
So
start.
you lucked out, because it is hard to find a name that no one else has taken.
Yeah.
I mean, oh man, that's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
So for you to find that one, I'm like, no one thought of that yet? No one took that? You know, like, really? It's so clean. It's like just,
yeah.
there's no underscores. It's nice and
Yeah.
easy. It's like, wow.
I mean, it fits, man. You know,
Yeah.
like it's exactly what I'm out here to do.
Yeah.
I'm a representative of my tribe and a representative in the industry, so I felt it, like,
It fits.
it just fits.
It
man.
fits.
It's exactly what
It
it
fits
is.
whenever I see you. I'm on Instagram. I'm always like, oh, this is like, you know, like, it's just like, that's like your name to me. Like, that's just your.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
funny.
I ran into this other guy I met on Instagram too. Well, I just met him out because I seen him a couple times, and he's an actor, so we kind of got into the conversation. You know, okay, follow each other on Instagram, and then, you know, and then I seen him out like a couple times, and he's like, hey, what's your real name? What's your real name? All I know you is Chief Hollywood. You know, so yeah, Samuel, but Chief Hollywood sticks.
It's
you know,
gonna stick.
that's-
It's gonna be your
yeah.
like your, you know,
Yeah.
like a Tarantino. Like, I don't know if that's actually his name. I'm sure it is, but yours, this is just as good.
Yeah, exciting times ahead. Anyways, you know,
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for actually just listening. You know,
Oh,
this
thank you.
is
That's what I wanted to do here. I
Yeah.
wanted to do something where I just get to hear different people and things and stories, and you know.
yeah. Because at the same time, I never really, truly kind of talked it out for this long.
Yeah.
It would just be little tidbits.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 10-minute, 15-minute conversations, but it's not like laying it all out.
Right,
You know.
right.
And then now it just kind of feels good. I kind of actually have, just by me speaking, it kind of brings out, kind of putting things on a timeline.
Yeah.
You know, and so
That's what I like about this format in general, is you can just sit there and listen, and
yeah,
you can jump in when I want to say, okay, well, tell me more about that. But I don't need to just let you go, you know,
Yeah.
and let it just. It's nice. It's
I mean too, I found myself just kind of, there's a couple times where I found myself kind of, you know, becoming stronger. There are moments where I kind of feel myself kind of, you know, being emotional and kind of like going there, because when I used to go there, I'd be kind of like, you know, like a little shaky or
Yeah.
hard for me to
Yeah.
talk, but I find myself becoming stronger.
Yeah.
Stronger
That's
now.
good.
And not just kind of like breaking down, or, you know, like, so it's therapeutic in a way. And
Yeah. I think the more you do it, the better you're going to get.
yeah,
And at that part of you know, laying it out and having a clear, you know,
yeah,
voice with what you're saying.
yeah.
But so far, I mean, you're like a pro. So it's
Thanks.
it's one of those things where you just forget your, you know, just start talking.
Yeah.
And the more you think of it like that, you know, I think that's the best way to get things across.
Yeah.
Nobody can get things across in 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's one thing that in particular that I've noticed, especially if you look at like a Twitter or those places, like whether it's text or video form, it's too fast. TikTok is great for entertainment,
Yeah.
and it's good when they can, you know, get soundbite type stuff and they can get information across quickly. But you're inevitably going to lose something,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So you might have to pick and choose what you're saying.
Yeah.
And abbreviate it and
Yeah.
not be quite as, you know, in depth as you want to go into.
Yeah.
and I'm sure we could keep going and going and going. And it's one of those things where that's where you know, you really get to the heart of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll have to have you back on in like 6 months and see where you're at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
so that way you have like a timeline.
Yeah,
And then-
exactly. You know, because now thinking about it, you know, there's a lot of stuff too that, you know, like I said, there's only so much you can tell.
Yeah.
You know, there's like 40 years of my life, and trying to just tell within like
Yeah.
an hour or two. There's
Yeah.
so much that, you know.
And then there's going to be more as you know, keep
Exactly.
going. You know, there's going to be more things that happen.
Yeah.
So
For sure. For sure.
it's an exciting time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see what you do, because I definitely know, I mean, from what I've heard about the things that you want to create, it's going to be like really
Yeah.
something special,
Yeah.
you know?
For sure.
And that's something it's always nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's has some heart to it, and something
Yeah.
that's you've put some intention and thought into it.
Yeah.
And it's
for
really,
sure.
it's something that's so special,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good to hear. And so, yeah. Well, goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.